The movie begins with the storekeeper stepping outside to sit down. He grabs his chair and settles on the forecourt. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise and turns around. He shouts in that direction, making it clear to whatever's there that he's not carrying anything. After a moment, curiosity gets the better of him, and he walks toward the sound. What he sees leaves him completely shocked. A beast charges at him, viciously biting a chunk out of his leg and then attacking the rest of his body. The man screams in agony as the creature rips him apart limb by limb. Meanwhile, Polly gets out of the car while Seth complains about the camping site. Polly thanks him for coming along, knowing full well that Seth isn't a fan of camping. They unload their gear from the car and begin setting up their tent. Elsewhere, Dennis and Lacey's car is broken down. Lacey complains, saying this isn't how Dennis said the trip would go. Dennis reassures her that Mexico is just around the corner and tells her they can still make it. He suggests they leave on foot since their truck won't get them any closer. Back at the campsite, Seth and Polly are still struggling to pitch their tent. Seth can't understand why they're spending their anniversary night in a bug-infested area inside a tent. He suggests they ditch the tent and stay at a motel instead. Polly, being the more adventurous of the two, insists they stick with the plan and figure out how to set it up. Because he promised Polly, Seth agrees to give the tent another try. But as they wrestle with it, they accidentally rip the tent. Since they didn't bring a backup, their camping plan is ruined. With no other choice, they decide to head to the motel. Dennis, frustrated, throws out all of their belongings, including what's left of the car, and they start walking again without it. Seth and Polly repack their things into their car and begin driving toward the motel. Polly teases Seth, saying he reads too much about life instead of living it. On their way, they suddenly spot a woman standing in the middle of the road. They stop immediately. While debating whether or not to help her, Dennis suddenly knocks on their car window and calmly asks them to open the door. Nice and easy. All right, get out of the car. Confused and unsure if these people are dangerous, Seth and Polly hesitate. Then Dennis pulls out a gun, violently opens the car door, grabs Polly by her hair, and throws her to the ground. He orders Seth to turn off the car and get out, pressing the gun to his head. Still in shock, Seth doesn't move until Dennis threatens to shoot Polly. Seth quickly exits the vehicle. Dennis instructs him to clear the back seat to make room for 2 more people. The situation has now clearly become a hostage scenario. Lacey argues with Dennis, reminding him that he promised there wouldn't be any hostages. But Dennis manages to convince her to go along with the plan. Dennis tells Seth to get in the driver's seat and start the car. Seth says he can't drive a stick shift, so Polly takes the wheel instead. Dennis sits in the back with Seth and Lacey up front, watching over Polly as she drives. Soon after they start driving, Dennis demands their cell phones and wallets. He tosses the phones out the window to keep them from calling the police, and he takes all the cash they have. Lacey notices Seth's ID and asks if he's a doctor. She wants to know if he can write her a prescription, but Seth explains that he can't help her. He has a PhD in biology, not a medical degree. They keep driving without any clear destination in mind. Suddenly, Polly hits something on the road, and they have to pull over because they've gotten a flat tire. Lacey, who frequently hallucinates due to her substance use, becomes distraught and thinks they've run over their old pet, Ginger. Dennis tries to calm her down, reminding her that Ginger passed away a long time ago. Dennis tells Seth to get out and grab the spare tire, but Polly volunteers instead. After all, it's her car, and Seth doesn't know how to change a flat. Dennis hands Lacey a gun and tells her to shoot Seth if he makes a move. Then Lacey orders Seth to go check out whatever they hit. When he approaches it, he finds a dead, crushed animal. Lacey begins talking to the lifeless creature, convinced it's Ginger, and commands Seth to help it. Meanwhile, Polly and Dennis work on changing the tire, but Dennis gets pricked by a splinter. He pulls it out and keeps working. They realize the flat tire was caused by sharp splinters from the animal's body. Still in her delusion, Lacey threatens to shoot Seth if he doesn't help the animal. Seth has no choice but to examine it. But when he touches it, the creature suddenly begins to move and tries to attack him. Lacey fires at it and bolts back to the car. In a panic, she tells Dennis they need to leave immediately, but doesn't explain why. Later in the car, Lacey insists their dead pet Ginger tried to attack her. Dennis doesn't believe her, thinking it's just another hallucination. Suddenly, the car's radiator fails, and they're forced to stop at a gas station to refuel and buy a few things from the convenience store. Lacey says she needs to use the bathroom and heads inside. Polly and Dennis go in to grab supplies while Seth stays outside to pump gas and clean the windshield. Inside the store, there's no one around. Dennis calls out several times, but no one answers. As they look around, Dennis notices the wound on his finger from earlier is starting to spread. Meanwhile, Lacey struggles to open the bathroom door. When she finally gets in, she finds a man lying on the floor with splinters embedded in his face and deep wounds all over his body. It's the storekeeper. He weakly mouths the words, "Kill me," before transforming into some sort of beast. Horrified, Lacey runs back into the store, screaming for Dennis. "Spikes! No, 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 baby, please!" she cries. She tells Dennis there's a man with spikes in the bathroom, but he dismisses her, assuming it's just another hallucination. But while they argue, the creature suddenly leaps out and drops into the store. Lacey trips and falls while Dennis opens fire on the creature. Seth rushes inside after seeing the beast coming toward them. Polly tries to call 911, but Dennis smashes her phone. He doesn't want the police involved because he's a fugitive. When Polly challenges his authority, Dennis strikes her with his gun and threatens to shoot Seth for trying to step in. Overwhelmed, Dennis breaks down emotionally. He checks the store's security cameras and sees that Lacey is still alive and moving. He decides to go out and bring her back. Seth suggests they keep watch on the monitor to make sure the creature doesn't move. If it comes after them, they'll slam the door shut and keep it that way. Dennis takes the risk and goes outside to retrieve Lacey. He slowly drags her body back toward the store. Polly insists they should lock the door and leave him out. She locks the door, refusing to let Dennis back inside. As Dennis pounds on the door and threatens to shoot Polly, Lacey's body suddenly begins to regenerate. Then she attacks Dennis. They open the door and he let Dennis in, but Lacey's hand gets severed by the door. Seth notices the hand moving on its own and offers a theory. It's a living organism that feeds on animals and metabolizes them. Suddenly, there's a loud bang on the door. Lacey, now a monster-like creature, just like the man who attacked her, is outside. Seth and Polly tell Dennis to move away from the door so she can't see him. They try to open the store door to escape, but it's locked. They search for the keys but can't find them, so they decide to try prying it open with a screwdriver. Dennis lies on the floor, unresponsive, still in shock over what Lacey has become. Seth and Polly manage to open the door, only to find another lock on the inside. The banging finally stops. Now the creature is on the roof. They listen closely to the sounds coming from above. Then, as they turn around, a police officer suddenly appears outside the door, staring straight at them. The officer points her gun at Dennis and tells everyone not to move. She's so focused on arresting Dennis that she ignores their desperate warnings. She refuses to return to her car and instead calls for backup. That's when the monster throws a splinter at her, attacking from behind. It tears her body apart, consuming half of her. After a while, her body starts to regenerate. The splinter cells rebuild her from the inside out. Meanwhile, the wound on Dennis's finger begins to spread more aggressively. Polly suggests they should make a run for the car, but Dennis objects, saying the monster is faster than they are. He compares Polly to Lacey, calling them both brave, and this sparks another argument. Seth steps in, trying to approach the problem logically and scientifically, but he doesn't have a clear plan. Then Dennis suggests an idea. Since they're only 10 feet away from a state forest, a protected area, they could set it on fire and wait for help to arrive. Polly agrees and they start looking for oil. They pour the oil from the back door all the way to the edge of the forest. Seth disagrees with the plan and proposes an alternative. He spots the police officer's walkie-talkie nearby. If they can reach it, they might be able to call for help. He tapes hanger wires together and tries to hook the device. Just as he's about to grab it, the monster lunges and snatches it away. It shoves its hand through the window, breaking in. Dennis's hand is deteriorating fast. The parasite is spreading quickly. The monster's hand comes after them, filled with splinters. They struggle to fight it off without getting pierced and infected. They retreat into the refrigerator room with Dennis and barricade themselves inside. Seth and Polly realize Dennis's infection is worsening. He begs them for a knife to amputate his hand before the parasite spreads further, but he passes out before he can do it himself. Seth takes control and begins cutting Dennis's arm off using any tool he can find. "I can't reach the bone with this knife," he says in frustration. Later, as they share a final beer, Dennis confesses the truth about why the police are after him. During a robbery, he shot a truck driver who was left paralyzed and later died, which financially devastated the man's wife. Helping Lacey get clean and supporting the widow was Dennis's attempt at redemption, his last shot at making things right. Seth theorizes that the monster is attracted to warmth, so he comes up with a plan to lower his body temperature using ice packs and to track the creature with a thermometer. Once his body cools down enough, Seth weakly makes his way to the police car to call for help. Meanwhile, Polly and Dennis use fireworks as a distraction for the monster. As it begins to approach the car, Dennis diverts its attention while he and Polly hide in the refrigerator. Seth makes it back to the store and starts shooting at the monster, which causes the oil they had sprayed earlier to ignite, setting the store on fire. He tells Polly they need to lure the creature into the flames. They both shoot at it together, but Dennis insists on taking the gun. He urges them to run while he holds off the creature himself. Seth and Polly make their escape as Dennis leads the monster toward the gas. He then fires a shot, triggering a massive explosion that engulfs the entire place in flames. After the explosion, Seth and Polly find Dennis in a deeply emotional moment. He hands them the key to his bank account and asks them to give all of his money to the trucker's wife. As Seth and Polly begin to leave, Dennis embraces his final moment. He turns toward the gas pump in front of him, fires his weapon, and blows up the gas station, sacrificing himself in an honorable death, allowing Seth and Polly to finally escape the nightmare.